We're totally surrounded by creations, right? The song you just streamed, that app on your phone, even the logo on your coffee cup. But if you ever stop to think about who actually owns those things? I mean, how do you protect something you can't even touch, like an idea? Well, that's exactly what intellectual property is all about, and today we're going to break it all down.
So let's start with that big question. Can you really own something you can't physically hold? Owning a car, that's easy. You got the keys, it's in your driveway. But owning a melody? Or a brand name? Now that's where things start to get really interesting.
Think of it like this. If someone steals your car, well, it's gone. You don't have it anymore. But if someone illegally copies your song, you still have the original, right? The value isn't in some physical object. It's in the idea itself, the creation. And that kind of intangible value needs a whole different kind of protection.
And that protection? That's what we call intellectual property, or IP for short. Basically, it's a bundle of legal rights that gives creators control over their work. It's what makes sure that the people who invent, write, and design stuff can actually benefit from all their hard work and decide how it gets used. Okay, first up, what does it really mean to own an idea? Let's dive into the basics of how these intangible creations get protected in the first place.
So IP isn't just one big thing. As you can see here, you've got patents for new inventions, trademarks for brand logos, and even trade secrets for stuff like the secret formula for Coke. But for our purposes today, we're going to zoom in on the one you and I deal with pretty much every single day: copyrights.
All right, let's tackle something that trips a lot of people up: the difference between copyright infringement and plagiarism. They are not the same thing. One is about breaking the law, and the other is about breaking a code of ethics. Let's make this super clear. First, let's talk about copyright infringement. This is a legal issue, plain and simple. If you use someone's photo, their song, or their article without getting permission, you are literally breaking the law. And the consequences can be serious. We're talking hefty fines, lawsuits, and sometimes even criminal charges.
Plagiarism, on the other hand, is all about ethics. It's about taking someone else's idea or their words and passing them off as your own without giving them credit. Now, it can definitely overlap with copyright, but the fallout is usually academic or professional. You could fail a class, get fired from a job, or just completely trash your reputation.
This table lays it all out, nice and clear. Just look at the key differences here. Copyright? That's a legal fight for the courts. Plagiarism? That's an ethical problem handled by places like schools or your job. Copyright protects the specific way an idea is expressed, while plagiarism is about the idea itself. Using a photo you didn't license? Infringement. Copying and pasting a paragraph without a citation? That's plagiarism.
So you might be thinking, if copyright is so strict, how can anyone ever critique a movie or quote a book for a class? Well, that's where this incredibly important idea called fair use comes into play. It's all about finding a balance.
Fair use is a really key part of U.S. copyright law. It basically says you can use a limited amount of copyrighted material without asking for permission, but only for certain things, like criticism, news reporting, teaching, or research. Honestly, without it, so much of our public conversation and education would just grind to a halt.
So how do courts even decide what's fair? Well, they do this kind of balancing act using a four-part test. First, they ask, what's the purpose of the new use? Is it for education or a parody, or is it just to make money? Second, what's the nature of the original work? Is it a factual report or a super creative movie? Third, how much did you use? Just a tiny clip for a movie review, or did you upload the whole film? And finally, what's the effect on the market? Does your use hurt the original creator's ability to sell their work? It's not a simple checklist. It's a careful judgment call every single time. Okay, let's flip the script for a second. If you're a creator yourself, how do you go about protecting your own work from getting misused? Well, there are a bunch of practical tools and steps you can take. If you're out there making things, you gotta be proactive. You can register your copyright, which gives you much stronger legal footing if you have to sue. Just using the little C symbol is a good way to put people on notice. For confidential stuff, you can use non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs. And for digital things, there's tech like digital rights management, or DRM, that can help control copying. These are your essential tools. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Protecting your IP isn't just playing defense. It's an investment in yourself and your future. It's what gives you the power to control, profit from, and build on the things you create. Okay, so we've covered the what and the how.
But let's zoom out and ask the biggest question of all. Why? Why do these rules matter so much, not just for one person, but for all of us, for society as a whole?
Let's talk money for a second, because this is wild. Industries that rely heavily on IP, like movies, music, and software, lose billions and billions of dollars every single year to piracy. And that's not just some corporate problem. It means real income loss for artists and creators and fewer jobs in those creative fields.
And on an even bigger scale, protecting IP is what drives innovation. I mean, when people know they can actually benefit from their inventions and their art, they're much more likely to put in the time, money, and effort to create new things. This whole system supports our creative industries and fuels economic growth for everybody.
But hold on, it's not all about locking things down. There's another really important idea at play here, and that's intellectual freedom, our fundamental right to access and share ideas. This is exactly why concepts like fair use are so critical. They're the safety valve that makes sure knowledge and culture don't get locked away forever. And right there, that brings us to the core tension of this entire system. IP law is a constant balancing act. On one side of the scale, you have to protect creators so they have an incentive to make new stuff. But on the other side, you have to make sure the public can access that stuff to learn, to debate, and to let ideas flow freely. You need both for a healthy, vibrant society.
So, we end up right back where we started, but with a challenge that feels more urgent than ever. In our world of one-click sharing and instant downloads, that delicate balance is getting harder and harder to maintain. So the big question remains, where should we draw the line? That's the puzzle that creators, companies, and lawmakers are trying to solve every single day.